back. I mean, I get standing ovation wherever I go. And, they're going to the bathroom when I speak. Let me clarify one thing on my prior subject about the concept of he made all his money, had great success, now he's giving back. I love what Rabbi Lapin said. That is not correct, because that term came from the pirates who stole and plundered. Then when they got older, they got religion and they gave back to the churches so they would build all the churches in Europe. He said, we don't give back because we never took. The concept is you must have taken from people, now they're giving back. You know, those rich people are. He said, no, you earned your money because you gave value to other people. So it's not that you're giving back. No, you just have an excess of money. Now you're doing the other things with it. A good example, Mike Tuttle, good friend of mine, you all know Mike. Mike Tuttle went down to Mexico, Cabo San Lucas, and he tells a story about Mike was trying to learn, here's my time. I got that plane that says if I'm late, I said, go ahead, leave without me if I don't make it. And he said, I was trying to learn Spanish. So we got in the cab, started talking to the cab driver. The guy said he got 6 kids, quadruplets the last 4. So Mike said, listen, let me take you to McDonald's. I know a lot of you poo-poo McDonald's, but in Cabo San Lucas, it is a big deal to go to McDonald's if you're a kid, because that is way above what they can afford. And so he said, let me come by your house and pick you up. You go to your house. So he went to the house and he saw 2 children. Of the 4, 2 boys couldn't walk. And he inquired through his broken English and Spanish, why? He said, because they were born, and he looked, and their eyes were crossed, not this way, but that way. I got a picture of it. So the eyes are going this way, that way, and you can't have any balance. So they couldn't walk because of lack of balance. What would you do? Interesting. Well, I love people. What would you do? Well, someone should do something. That's just not right. And, maybe call the authorities, call the government. Everyone wants to call the government. Now, what would you do if you were making $2 million a year? Like Mike is. Guess what he said? I'll take over this thing. They got an interpreter. The interpreter got a surgeon, fix the boy's eyes. That's what you do if you have money. So all the people that poo-poo, I don't want to make a lot of money, not important to me, you know what that means? I don't see anybody out there that needs help. Isn't it critical? When you start making money, all the need you see out there that you don't see when you don't have any money. That's why if you ever said, let the rich people pay for it, you're in trouble. Because you're at 5,000 to 7,000 foot level, and that plane is flying, and it's going to hit a 12,000 foot mountain. And you're going to wish you had more money. One of the things that I read this book, and it's called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, where he talks about how there's an interview with the devil. And the devil talks about how his prey are people that drift. And what does that mean? They have no original thoughts. Whatever is in there, and they don't create anything in their mind. I'll use an example. I went home today, just for about 15 seconds, where you're going about 70 miles an hour down the road. Close your eyes, just about 15 seconds, that's all. Just try this experiment. Just 15 seconds, or 10 seconds. And see what happens when you drift and where you end up. And this way, no one is immune to drifting. I've been drifting since 6:15 this morning. And that's something. And if I don't wake up tomorrow morning and start and stop the drift, who knows where I'm going to end up. And marriages are ruined because marriages start to drift apart. Because if you don't take care of that side, spiritually, when you drift spiritually, you drift down. and must be pursued. You got to be always thinking about what you're thinking about. What are you thinking about right now? Not much of anything. As an example, if I ask you the question, what do you want your net worth to be in 15 years? You can always tell a drifter the first words they use are, what are you thinking about right now? When do you want to be an RVP? What do you want your income to be? And see, that's the trouble that people end up in. They don't drift into Primerica. People drift out of Primerica because there's nothing here that will bring them what they want. What they want can be gotten out there, not here. Which means that everything I want in life I can get without Primerica. So why do I want Primerica? Why do I need to recruit? Why do I need 100 people? I can live the life I want to have. That's drifting. Another word for drifting is aimless wandering. Think about that. When I I flunked out of college twice. And then you're not motivated highly if you're flunking out of college. And you're dating a girl whose brother is a genius and is whipping right through college on a master's degree. And I'm sitting there in a factory making $2.35 an hour, not knowing how I wanted my life to turn out. And through a long story of events, I bought this book I think it was called How to Study. And I opened it up and said, because I thought my problem is I don't know how to study. I don't know how to recruit. I can't tell you how many people I've told what to do, and they don't do it. Now I said, do you want me to tell you what to do, or do you want me to tell you what I think you're going to do? Most people don't because there's no reason to do it. That's why they're not at the meeting. There's nothing happened at that meeting that I need to hear. I'm in good shape. And the first chapter of the book said, you don't have a study problem, you have a goal problem.
Awesome.
So for the first time in my life, I wrote down my goals. Dad never said a goal before. And I said a series of goals, and one of which is graduate from college. Guess what happened? I completed all the coursework to graduate. I hadn't met Carol in the meantime, and she was still in school. So I just took a couple of graduate courses. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I went through a 4-month period of extreme depression. I was totally depressed, not clinically, but the minute I set a goal as to what I got to make my mind up. What am I going to do? And amazing, the minute I decided what I want to do, my depression went away. I'm not talking about clinical depression some of you have. By the way, my son went through severe depression. I wouldn't wish that upon your worst enemy. It's terrible to have a child go through deep depression where they can't get out of bed. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about situational, circumstantial depression. And so what happened was I set a new goal. When I came to Primerica, I learned a session. You better set some goals. So I read Think and Grow Rich. And I swear to you, I decided to do what it said. Page 36 said what? Have a goal, blah, blah, blah. Here's what you do. My book, page 72, said, here's what it should look like. Type it out and read it when you wake up in the morning and read it before you go to bed at night. Well, finally, I memorized it. And for the last 30-some years, before I go to bed at night, when I get up in the morning, I say those two things. Why? It keeps me from drifting. Also, a little over a year ago, 2 years ago, I read Napoleon Hill's book where it said, write out your definite major purpose statement and recite it out loud. In the last 2.5 years, I probably missed 20 days of not saying that out loud. I did it this morning. I recite my definite major purpose statement. Why? Because I don't want to drift. Because in my life, when I drift, it's always someplace bad. You ever say, well, I just lost my focus? You ever hear people say that? Well, I got to get my thing going back again. You know, I don't know what lost. So the answer is, you got to do it every day. Because if you don't do it every day, what happens? How many folks have heard, write out your goals every day? Everybody, right? How come people don't do it? And the answer, according to Tommy Newberry, of this book that I've read 26 times, I've read his book. You know what it's called? Success is not an accident. Why did I read it so many times? I wanted to get this. He said, people don't write out and say their goals because what they want isn't as valuable as they think it is. When you find something you want bad enough, you start doing those things. It's called mental indifference. Carol thinks I'm nuts, by the way. Don't think. I'm in the shower going through my goal thing. And, all right, here he goes again. His sister said, what's he doing? Oh, it's just his thing. It's the thing I can't tell. Kid doesn't have to do this. And I know people that don't have to, but I have to. I tried not doing this stuff, and I got comeback of the year one year. Do you know that? That's not an award you want to get. Because you've been someplace you don't want to be. Why? Because I became what? Drifting. Mental indifference. I started coasting. And when you coast, you always coast down. I love this quote. When men's bellies are filled, they drift freely with the one who does the filling. That's why people go get their jobs. They end up what? Staying there because the boss is filling their bellies with a paycheck, so they just keep going back there to get filled up. And they end up what? Making the boss's dreams come true, and they never have any dreams. And then their life, like I read today. Don't fear failure, fear succeeding at things that don't matter. And we're succeeding at a lot of things that just the heck don't matter. You can win your fantasy football thing, and boom, big deal. Cowboys going to win, who cares? My life has not changed since the Cowboys won the Super Bowl 21 years ago. And they haven't even made it barely to the playoffs since then. In a wonderful movie called The Gladiator, every man's favorite, right? I don't know how men who have 100% off one can watch a movie like Gladiator and not get inspired so much and then go into work on Monday and it eats in their gut. Isn't that something? How do you handle that? I got stuck because I want to conquer the world when you watch a movie like that. Remember at the beginning of the movie where he's standing there, all his Roman soldiers, and he got those Huns on the other side, and they're screaming and yelling, and these are so disciplined. And Maximus says, when I give you the word, unleash hell. And so when he gave the word, he didn't say, when I give you the word, throw a rock. Throw a leaf at him. See if they... Guess what you got to do when you leave here today? Unleash hell. What does that mean? How many people can you call this afternoon? If you wait till Monday, it will dissipate because the drifting will take you into another what? Trough. And you're in that trough and you can't get out of trough. Because when you stay there for a long time. Which means what? You got to have a barrage of phone calls. Get with your manager and say, there's 6 people. What do we do with these 6 people I have? Call them this afternoon. Don't wait for tomorrow night. Don't wait for Monday. In 1945, the greatest war, the World War II, the greatest battle in the countries, in the oceans, was the Battle of Iwo Jima, where 35,000 men casualties. And that's not including all the Japanese soldiers. And people fought and lost their lives, but like anything else, who cares? That was them. So they put a monument there. By the way, you can only go there 1 day a year. Americans can only go there 1 day a year with permission of the Japanese government. Very fascinating. And they set something in stone, and it said this: when you go home, tell them and say, for your tomorrow, we give our today. Who are you giving your tomorrows for? Who are you giving up your today for? When you go home, now look at your kids and say, kids, for your tomorrow, I gave up my today. I gave up the TV programs. I gave up the football game. I gave up the stuff I kind of wanted to do. So all of us, your kids are set for life. And your grandkids and your grandkids' kids. And your kids and your kids and your kids. How long are your kids set for? All because you're what? You're willing to give up a little bit today? I'm going to do today what others won't so I can have tomorrow what others can't. I probably said that to myself. Galatians 6:9, I said that a million times. Do not go weary doing good for others. If you don't relax your efforts, in due time you will reap your harvest. I had to say that to keep my sanity in this thing. I said a zillion times, I'm due to do others won't so I can have tomorrow others can't. Now I have what others can't have. That 35,000-foot life. I'll end on this, a story that I've used for centuries now, it seems, but it's so appropriate for me and hopefully for you, about the story about the guy that always dreamed of marrying the perfect girl, wanted to have the perfect marriage, perfect kids, and every girl he dated, nothing matched up. So one day, he moved from the country to the city. He was taking a bus home, and it was so raining outside, decided to take a cab. We got to the cab stand, and it was raining down. The cab finally came, and as he was getting into the cab, he reached for the door handle, and a warm, tender hand touched his. He looked up, there she was, the perfect girl, the girl of his dream. He'd been dreaming about her for years. And she said to him, would you like to share the cab? And out of a knee-jerk reaction, he said, no, because he'd done without for so long. So she got in the cab, and he closed the door. They looked at each other, and off the cab went, came a screeching halt. He wondered what was wrong. The window opened up, and she stuck her head out and said, it's going to haunt you for the rest of your life, wondering what may have happened if you got in this cab. I promise you, it'll haunt you for the rest of your life, wondering what may have happened if you launched and unleashed hell in Primary. Thank you very much.
Come on, y'all. Y'all can get better than that. Give it up for Bill.